Do you know what really sucks? Is sitting down to edit your project and realizing that you have gaps in your coverage or shots missing. You need to have a really good, specific, and detailed shot list. Head over to filmmakersecrets.com/shot list, SHOTLIST, to get a killer shot list template along with some training where I show you step by step exactly how to use it.
Learn cinematography, learn how to make good looking videos, learn business, learn how to get clients, and then you can have whatever you want.
Filmmakers have the power to evoke emotion, inspire thought, and drive universal change in this world. So how does a filmmaker thrive in an environment that is almost intentionally designed to bring you down? That is the question, and this podcast reveals the answer. What's happening, filmmakers? It's George VK. Welcome to Filmmaker Secrets podcast, episode number 21. I am extremely excited to introduce my guest, Eric Thayne. He's the founder of a production company called Celadora. He's the creator of a genius online course called Cinema Mastery. And he's just a super talented commercial filmmaker. So Eric, go ahead and say what's up to our filmmakers and reveal the one filmmaker secret that you've been keeping from us.
Oh man. Okay. Well, thanks George for having me on, first of all. And what's up everybody? The one filmmaker secret. That's it, huh?
The one. That's all I'm giving you.
Okay. That's it. All right. This is going to be a quick one then. So I would say when it comes down to it, I've been teaching cinematography and business skills to filmmakers for the last 5 years or so. Have worked with a lot of filmmakers, have seen a lot of, ups and downs and like what's working and what's not working and what makes work look good and what makes it not look good. And I would say when it comes to cinematography, which is my favorite thing, like I'm a DP, done commercial work, and like I love lighting and cinematography, and I'm the camera guy. Like I just love operating the camera. Yeah. And from doing all of that, I have found that the number one thing that will determine whether your cinematography looks good or looks bad is, can you guess? Lighting. Okay. Absolutely lighting. So if you haven't invested a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of like resources into learning lighting, you're probably going to struggle for a while as a filmmaker. And I wish that I knew that starting out, just how important lighting is, because I remember when I started out shooting videos, like it was usually just run and gun style. We'd have like a camera on a glide cam. I'd run around and shoot whatever. I didn't think about what the lighting was doing. I just needed to be in a well-lit space, right? If there's lights on, it's probably okay, right? Or if we're shooting outside in the sun, then it's probably okay. Like that was kind of my approach to lighting. And so I didn't realize like how important it is. But when it comes down to it, like the best cinematographers in the world, what they're masters at is analyzing light and what is happening to light, especially on a subject's face. So analyzing what direction it's coming from, what the quality of the light is, the intensity of it, what the color of it is, matching colors, doing color contrast, creating, and it's not just analyzing the light, but also knowing how to use the tools and the resources like lights and flags and scrims and diffusion and silks and all that kind of stuff in order to craft a look, to craft the lighting that you want to motivate natural light. So you see scenes in movies that look like they're just, sitting in a room and there's a lamp on and there's a window, right? But a lot of times that's all manufactured from the ground up. And it's because these DPs that are professional, they understand exactly what natural light does so that they can mimic it and recreate it with their tools to create the best look possible.
That's an amazing secret, Eric. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think our filmmakers are going to really get a kick out of it. I went through your Lighting Secrets course, and it's just packed full of value. And you have such an easy, approachable, and just a personable way of teaching. You break things down into the most simplest terms. And even for filmmakers that geek out on this stuff and they have, all of this knowledge that they want to gather, have a hard time really placing the concepts into manageable terms that they can actually go and execute and act on that knowledge and actually implement it into their projects. And I think that's one of the biggest roadblocks that I've noticed with filmmakers. Before we get too deep into the meat of things, I'd love to know, How is your family? Is everybody healthy? How are things in life?
Yeah, we're doing great. Everything's just cruising right along, and we're making the best of things.
Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So my next question, I want you to take me back, way, way back to that moment when you got a spark, like that moment that you got the epiphany of, yes, I want to be a filmmaker. Describe that environment, what was happening around you. Tell me that story.
Yeah, good question. So I mean, I've had a camera in my hands ever since I was little. So I mean, I would make videos. I remember when I was probably 11, 12 years old. And I would go to school, and I had a best friend that after school, like pretty much every day, we would go to each other's houses. Like either I would go to his house or he'd come to my house. And my parents had a camcorder. I don't know if you remember, like the what was it called? Like the Sony like Hi8 tapes. And so like the little cassette tapes that you would put in it, right? And because it wasn't digital back then, and so you put the cassette tapes in, and we didn't have editing software. There was no. It existed, but like we didn't have any money. We were like little kids, like 11, 12-year-old kids, and so there was no software, so we had to do everything in camera. And we were really influenced by like superhero movies. So I was like way into superheroes and Spider-Man and like stuff like that. And so we would create these like little superhero movies where we would create these effects where it looked like we're jumping from roof to roof, or where there's like aliens attacking, or like just other random little things. Like we would do little Spider-Man tricks where I would get on the ground, like crawl on the ground, but we would turn the camera sideways so it looks like we're crawling up a wall, you know. And so we got really, really creative, and I think that actually influenced pretty heavily like my style of cinematography now, because like I'm very much focused on like getting things right in camera versus using just using editing software and fixing it in post, right? And so that's kind of where my love for filmmaking started. Now, I didn't start doing it professionally for many years after that. It was just kind of for fun. And I started doing it professionally because I actually was trying to become a musician. So this was back in 2011 when I decided I wanted to become a musician. I created a YouTube channel making music videos. So we would do like cover songs and like mashups of different songs. So I'd take two songs and put them together, or like at the end of the year, we would take like the top 20 or 30 songs from the year and do like a big mashup of all of them. And I've been a musician since I was little too. And so, have some skill in writing music and composition and that kind of thing. And so I had a recording studio. I would record these songs, and then I would have to make a video, right? But I didn't really have like many video skills. And so I got my first camera. I asked my parents for it for Christmas. It was a Canon T2i. And that was all I wanted, was a Canon T2i and a lens so I could make videos. And I started making these YouTube videos. And so the first videos were really primitive. I was just, I would just put a camera up on a tripod and then shoot it. And then every video, it got better and better. And so like the first one was on a tripod. The next one, I was like, oh, I'm going to have a friend come, and they're going to walk around. I was playing the piano. They're going to walk around the piano so we get some camera movement. And slowly over time, I started learning as I did video after video after video. And I did tons of these videos. And they just got more and more intense every single time. We started adding in people. We started adding in stories and telling stories, and then adding in these music videos. And it got really, really complicated. And eventually, after a few years of doing that, I started to realize that I really loved filmmaking, like the video aspect of it. And so there was a while where I was doing music production and video production, and doing that for both for clients. So I built up a recording studio, working with artists, and then I got my first paying job. I think this was in 2013, end of 2013. I got my first paid job as a videographer. A company paid me like $200 to shoot a dance party. And so I went to the dance party, got some footage of it, and edited it together. And that was like my first paid job. And that was when I realized, like, wow, I can make money at this. And that's so cool to be able to do what you love to do and then make money doing it. And so I started looking for more clients. And that was kind of the pivotal moment where I decided, like, wow, I actually love filmmaking. And so I started really exploring filmmaking, really learning it. And then eventually I cut out the music production. I sold the recording studio and decided I was just going to go all in on becoming a filmmaker and trying to grow that business and get clients and like become really good at it. And that was kind of how it happened for me.
That's an inspiring story, Eric. I love that. And it just shows that everybody kind of goes on their own path and they get to a certain result completely differently from anyone else. I'm sure there's other stories of people kind of coming up into the filmmaking world, starting with music, but the way that you have gone is completely unique. And I love that. Let's transition into some of your coaching, some of your consulting work. I know that the Lighting Secrets workshop has done really well. What was the launch point for that project? What inspired you to create it and to make it a reality for other filmmakers?
Yeah, so Cinema Mastery actually came before Lighting Secrets. This was now 5 years ago when, so at that point, we'll cut out this whole chunk of the story, but eventually I'd gone from, just figuring things out as a filmmaker, and then over time, like understanding how to create cinematic work and how to create passion projects and build a portfolio that attracts the right clients, then how to charge high prices for those clients. And I built a production company that was making 6 figures a year at that point, and had a lot of people asking questions like, how did you do that? Like, how do you get clients? How do you make work that looks like that? How do you do that kind of thing? And so I had people asking me those questions. So I knew I had something to share with people. And then I also found that the way that cinematography was being taught online, a lot of times I didn't agree with it. It was very gear heavy, gear focused. There were a lot of things that were like, I remember seeing an article on one of those blogs that was like, here's how to make your videos look cinematic. And they took this shot that was just terrible. And then they like threw this really bad, like teal and orange color grade on it. And it was like, okay, there you go. Now it's cinematic. And I remember seeing
the Michael Bay effect.
Yeah. Like the shot already looked bad. And then they're teaching people that like, you can just add that on and then now it looks cinematic. Mm-hmm. And I remember just like really being against that. And I was like, that's not how it works. That's not even close. And kind of annoyed a little bit that like people were, that was the instruction that filmmakers were getting. And so I had this idea like, well, what if I could teach people how to make better looking films and teach them like really how to do it from my experience. And then I also like, I'm very entrepreneurial and, looking for business ideas. And so this was a business venture for me as well. It was like, okay, I saw the opportunity. I think there's stuff that I can teach filmmakers that would be really valuable. And I also, this is an opportunity to make money and to create like maybe another income stream or maybe even a more passive income stream. And so with those two ideas combined together, I decided to do it. So I went all in. I created my first program working with like 10 filmmakers. And it was a one-on-one, just a live thing where I kind of walked them through the process of like how I create cinematic films, how I get clients and that whole thing. And that eventually became Cinema Mastery, which is our flagship course. And over the years, it was just kind of a side thing for a while, but it grew and it blew up. And, over the years at this point, we've served over 14,000 filmmakers in 100 countries around the world. That's paying customers. And that's not counting like the millions of people that have watched our free stuff. Right. And have just like built this community that's just amazing. And it just turned into this whole thing, eventually replaced my job as a production company. And eventually now this is what I do full time is coaching and consulting filmmakers. And then more recently, even like other entrepreneurs on how to do like what we're doing right now. So if you're somebody who wants to learn how to sell an online course or create products and kind of follow that same path, like I'm teaching people how to do that now too.
You're sharing all your secrets, and I appreciate that. I think there needs to be more filmmakers that are contributing to the world in order to really have a positive impact. And I always say that filmmakers have the power to evoke emotion, inspire thought, and drive universal change in this world. And I think, especially in these times, that's kind of really important. You mentioned the part of gear, and I talk about this concept called tool trapping, which is where people that trap themselves in the tools that they use. So they make up excuses and stories for, I need this expensive camera in order to actually make this project work, or this, lighting setup that's going to cost as much as a car. And the way that I like to approach it is kind of like pay for itself model, where, like you said, you got your parents to buy you that first camera, the T2i, and then slowly but surely you started working your way up and up and up, and you got a paying client, and then I'm sure you used some of that money to invest into certain gear that was going to serve you. Can you talk a little bit about that process, that, you know, the tool trapping that you avoid?
Yeah. I think most filmmakers fall into that trap of thinking that, like, if I could just get that expensive cinema camera, then I could make amazing work, right? Mm-hmm. And I fell into that trap too. I remember at one point, you know, I was shooting on a T2i for a while, eventually upgraded to a 5D Mark III, and did that for a while. And then I remember there was a point where I decided somehow in my head, the story I was telling myself was that I needed a cinema camera to be a cinematographer, that shooting on a DSLR wasn't cutting it anymore. And that, you know, that clients weren't going to take me seriously. And like my work wasn't going to look as good if I was shooting on this. And like, if I really wanted to be professional, I had to have like a real cinema camera. Which, by the way, if you're thinking that, it's not true at all. And so I went out and I bought a C100 Mark II, which was my first cinema camera, right? Mm-hmm. And I spent like so much money on it. Like, those are a lot cheaper now, but I think at the time it was about $6,000 without a lens, just for the camera. And so I spent all this money on it. It was like my life savings, basically. And I was like, spent money on this camera, and I went and I shot with it. And I remember driving around, shooting some footage with it, and just I was like just driving around the car, just shooting stuff outside, like no lighting or anything. And I was like, this doesn't look good. It doesn't look like it doesn't look cinematic. Like, what is this, a cinema camera? It's supposed to look cinematic, right?
Right.
And you know, it's easy to laugh at it now, but I think at the time I was like, why it looks bad? And then I shot a music video with it, and there was some really bad like banding issues going on in the image and noise and stuff like that. I actually sent the camera back to Canon. I was like, there's a problem with this camera. I think there's an issue. And it's ridiculous. They ran tests on it. They emailed me back. They're like, there's nothing wrong with your camera. It's okay. We did our tests. Everything looks good. And I remember being so mad. I was like, oh man, well then you guys just make a terrible camera. And then I got so mad about it. And now thinking back on it, it's really funny. But over time, I realized that it wasn't the camera. It was 100% me. It took me a while to realize that. But that camera actually ended up becoming like my favorite camera over time. Uh-huh. Because it turned out that this first stuff that I was shooting just driving around, well, I wasn't putting any emphasis into the time of day that I was shooting, or the lighting, or the composition. I'm just out there just shooting footage, shooting B-roll, whatever, right? And so of course it was going to look bad, right? There was no thought or emphasis put into it. And then the music video that I shot, well, I had underexposed it. I didn't understand how to light properly and to create proper exposure, and that was why I was having those issues. And so many things happen because, like, you know, when it comes down to it, if you want your work to look good as a cinematographer, you have to learn how to be a cinematographer and not expect the tool to do the work for you. Now, yes, nowadays we shoot on RED cameras, and I love them and they're amazing. But like, I rented RED cameras for a long time as I was building my business. And after that experience, I realized that, wow, the focus has to be on growing the business, on learning cinematography first and getting clients. And then once I've got the clients to make it make sense, then I can invest in the gear. And eventually I bought my own RED camera, right? But it's not the other way around. Like, we tend to think like, I'm going to buy the camera and then I'll get clients. But it's the other way. It's you go get clients. Like, learn cinematography, learn how to make good looking videos, learn business, learn how to get clients, and then you can have whatever you want. Okay, because you'll have a business that supports you buying that gear. And so that was kind of the process that I went through of figuring that out and realizing that, like, cinematography is about it's about the cinematography, it's about the principles and techniques that go into it. It's like painting. You know, just by buying a more expensive paintbrush isn't going to make you a better painter. But when you're a professional painter, you're going to work with the best. And that's why you see professionals working with the best gear. Of course they're going to, because they can afford to, and because They want the best of the best. They want those little details to be right. But when you're starting out, like, it's really way more about your understanding of the principles and techniques of cinematography than it is about having a nice camera.
That's a beautiful parallel between, you know, the art and the craft of filmmaking and something that dates way back as painting. You mentioned that there are the two elements. You got to learn how to make a good cinematic image, and you got to learn the business. Can you share your secret of how you were able to start to get your own high-paying clients that to just sort of give this nugget of inspiration and hope for the filmmakers that have told themselves this story that it's just absolutely impossible. I live in the wrong place. I live in the wrong city, or whatever that story they're telling themselves. Can you just demystify that myth for them?
Yeah, well, I will say that the story you tell yourself has a lot of weight on what happens in your life. And, not to get into like deep mindset stuff, but you know how important that is. And like, if you tell yourself that there are no clients in your area, or the clients in your area don't have the budget, or that there's just no way to make it happen, or you don't have the skills or whatever, that will become true for you. You will live your own reality, basically. And the reality is, and I'm telling you this from working with thousands of filmmakers and teaching at this point millions of filmmakers cinematography and business skills. I've seen every situation under the sun. I've seen everyone in people all over the world in every country, what they're doing, what's working, what's not working. And I would tell you that those thoughts are not true. Unless you live in a very small town in some like out in the middle of nowhere. Like, there are situations where there's tiny places where, okay, yeah, maybe there's not big clients there. But I think that pretty much everyone, at least in the US, maybe overseas as well, most people that want to get into filmmaking at least live within like a few hours of a major metropolitan area. And there are ways to get work. And if you're really good at it and you understand the power of the internet, you don't have to be stuck to your geographic location anyway. So those ideas, those thoughts that like, there's no clients in my area, or they don't have a budget or whatever, is a story that you're telling yourself, and it's absolutely not true. There are clients out there that have more money than you could possibly imagine that they want to spend on video services. You, as a filmmaker, your job is just to become the type of person that's going to attract that level of clientele, right? If the people that you're getting right now are people that don't have the budget, they're cheap, they don't want to spend the money. These are things I hear all the time from filmmakers. My clients are cheap, they don't have the budget, they don't want to spend the money. If that's the type of person that you're working with right now, that is the type of person that you're currently attracting. And most of the time, that's because it's probably the type of person, I hate to be blunt with everybody, it's probably the type of person that you are. Okay. If you are a cheap person who doesn't like to spend money on things, who doesn't like to spend money on services, who hire people to pay high ticket prices for things, you're probably only going to attract people that are not like that too. So one of the biggest things, and probably the big secret, I guess, that I figured out as I was growing my business was, not only do I need to become that person and look and see like what does a professional filmmaker look like and act like and treat themselves like, and how do they talk, and become that person, but I also need to project a quality of work and a consistency in style of work in my portfolio that is also going to attract that level of clientele. And so what most filmmakers do is they create work. Their portfolio is basically just a collection of all the past work that they've done, right? So you've got a portfolio, you've done work for some clients here and there. Some of it's good, some of it's not. It's all these different types of videos and different styles and everything. And you throw that in your portfolio and you say, okay, look, here's my past work, right? But what clients want is not to, well, they want to see your past work, but what they want to see is consistency. What they want to see in your portfolio is not just everything that you've done. What they want to see is their future project. Okay, you see what I mean by that? They don't care about what you've done in the past. They care about what you're about to do for them. And if they can see in your portfolio a consistency of style and type of work and quality and everything that is consistent throughout the entire portfolio, then they know with a fair level of certainty that when they work with you, that is what they're going to get.
They can imagine themselves actually working with you in terms of the actual deliverable product that's going to be finished, polished, and they're going to get the result that they're looking for, which is not just a good video. It's a good video with a good cinematic image that with a person that actually has the business skills to be able to communicate with that client properly. And it's going to have a story. It's going to have some sort of through line. Can you just quickly touch on your process as you're building up new projects, or back when you used to, just kind of how you used storytelling to your advantage in your projects?
Yeah, definitely. So what I realized early on was that, I needed to create a quality of work that was going to attract the right level of clientele. And that meant shooting work that was cinematic and beautiful and had stories in it. And rather than just like the standard videography is what I call it, that I was shooting before, where I'd shoot like wedding videos or real estate videos or Kickstarter videos where I'm just like running around with the camera and shooting stuff. I decided that what I needed to do is I got to learn how to create work that, first of all, looks cinematic. It's got to be on a higher tier, right? And then also has this storytelling to it and this aspect of it that makes it feel more luxurious, feel more high end. And if I could create that type of work, then I would, then I'd be able to attract that type of work. But the problem was I wasn't getting those types of clients currently. Okay. And if you're listening to this and you're like, well, yeah, that's the situation I'm in. Like, I'm not getting those clients. How do I do that? Well, the answer to that question is passion projects. Okay. The best filmmakers in the world have spent their own time and resources creating passion projects, telling the stories that they want to tell, creating the level of cinematography that they want to create in order to attract those high level clients. Because ultimately your clients are looking to see what you've done to know what you can do. And if what you've done has been work that has been influenced by clients that were picky or had different ideas or didn't have very big budgets, and that, one way or another made the work not that good, then you're going to attract more of those types of clients. And so by doing passion projects, telling stories, creating cinematic work, and building a portfolio, rather than just putting together a collection like a museum of your past work, you actually target specifically, this is the type of client I want in this niche, in this industry, this type of video, this is what it's going to look like, and that's what I want. And you go out and you start creating those on your own time with your own resources to build a portfolio. Now you're building essentially a sales and a marketing message. It's a marketing piece to your future potential clients that, hey, this is what I do. If this is what you want, let's talk.
So much knowledge being dropped by Eric on Filmmaker Secrets podcast. I can talk to you for hours because I myself am learning a ton from you, just the different perspectives that you have on filmmaking and the business side of it, which I think is vitally important to the whole process. Where can our filmmakers go to find out more about you, Eric?
Yeah, so you can go to cinemamastery.com is probably the best way. There's, if you're interested in the Cinema Mastery course, which is my full-blown cinematography course where I lay out all the secrets on how to create work that looks cinematic and how to get clients, how to do passion projects and build your portfolio and start attracting high-level clients. That's at cinemamastery.com. So you can just go and buy the course. Or if you want, on that same page, when you go to cinemamastery.com, there's a button that says free training. If you click on that, it'll go into a free hour-long training where I break down a lot of it for you and some of my best tips and tricks on how to create work that looks cinematic. And you can watch that. It's an hour long. It's 100% free. All you have to do is give me your email address. If you give me your email address, by the way, I don't spam people. I will send you occasional emails with tips and tricks and how to become a better filmmaker. And then I send out an email every week when our new YouTube video comes out. So if you like learning filmmaking and getting better and learning from YouTube videos, then it's just a win-win for you. So that's what I would recommend, is watching that. Also, by the way, if you watch the webinar, you also get a discount on the Cinema Mastery course. So that's another win-win for you.
That's a beautiful win-win. And I think everybody should go and actually watch the 1 hour long training for free, because even just that one video is worth thousands of dollars, and it's going to pay for itself off. many years to go. I think the gathering of knowledge is so important. And I truly condone you, Eric, for sharing all your knowledge and dropping knowledge bombs and all the secrets. One last question that I have for you. What is your desert island movie? So if you could only watch one film for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One film for the rest of my life. Man, that's a real good question. I don't know what it would be, but for me, it would probably be a Christopher Nolan movie. So whether that's Inception or The Prestige or Interstellar or Tenet, Dunkirk. Man, he's done so many good movies. I'll let you bring his whole discography. I will bring the whole filmography if I can. But it would be Beautiful. One of those. Those are some of my favorites. Just because I love his directing, I love his storytelling. Amazing. Well, Eric, I want to thank you so much for your time, your knowledge, your tips and tricks. I really appreciate you coming on Filmmaker Secrets podcast. Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
If you like that, then you are going to love my Cine Racing Challenge. This is a 7-day filmmaking competition where your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to write, shoot, and edit a short 60-second film in just 7 days for your one chance to win with over $10,000 in prizes. So head over to cineracing.com. That's cineracing.com to get registered. Spots are filling up fast and the timer is ticking before the next Cine Racing Challenge launches. So be sure to head over to cineracing.com right now to get registered. I'll see you over there.